like to say thank you to Jane and Roger. It's not just for today, which you've all experienced. From my point of view, it's the last few months, the kindnesses, considerations and thought, and the extremely hard work. And thank you both very, very much. You can come out from under Not long ago, I used to work for a company that was involved in the supplying of equipment to the railway industry. Now, on various occasions, certain colleagues of mine were asked to speak to an organisation called the Permanent Way Institution, which is associated with the railways. And in particular, one individual, not the one present here today, one individual, when asked to speak, would go along to the meeting in the evening, which is generally a little talk and questions and answers and all the rest of it. And he would be introduced to his audience. And he would then rise to his height of 5'3" or whatever it was, put his briefcase on the desk and say that he understood that amongst his audience there were some pretty gruesome troublemakers and they were going to cause him grief, particularly with the questions afterwards. And he would like his audience to point out to him the individual most likely to cause him trouble. No, you are possible, yes. Now, if one does that, there's always one person who will cause trouble, and there's 99 people in the room know who that one person is, and they point out Joe Bloggs. Mike would then ask this gentleman to come up to the front. He would open his briefcase, he would pick out a glass, a corkscrew, and a bottle of wine, tell him to go down, sit down, drink up, and shut up. Now, until 3 weeks ago, I thought that was an extremely good idea, but having met up with some 15 to 20 what can only be described as reprobates, Richard Stag weekend, I don't think that any amount of wine, tequila, or in a certain case, pina colada, made any difference whatsoever. Now, I said it was 23 weeks ago since today was first mentioned. It's 23 years ago since first Sarah at 2:25 p.m. on the 11th of June 1968 was born, and then Jenny, late as usual, was 10 minutes after. 10 minutes later. 24 hours after they were born, and I actually do remember this very well. It was an extreme example of what I thought was terribly unfair society. Gwyneth had given birth to two 6-pound baby daughters, described by someone fairly close to me, resembling 2 plucked chickens. 2 6-pound babies, 12 pounds of baby. 24 hours later, there was a lady in Birmingham who gave birth to 6 2-pound babies. She had quantity, we had quality. She sold her story to the national press, we couldn't do a thing with the rest of it. Now, over the years, with twin daughters, you tend to, well, you think about today's event and think it'll never happen. But it does obviously happen. Now, over the years, the girls have been pretty good friends. There's been little or no argument, dispute, banter. But there's been one common theme that's raised its head every year, every 2 years, every 3 years. When the girls were about 3 and they first learnt about little boys, they were late, yes. The sort of theme of the conversation would go like this, and it didn't matter who started it. Bet you get married first. No, well, bet you do. How much then? 25 pence, done. Now, you know how time sort of lends enchantment, it exaggerates, one forgets little things. Sarah is now not going to collect 25 pence, but 25 pounds. Is that right, Sarah?
Yes,
that's right. Right. Right? You made the bet in the first place. It's not coming out, John. I asked Jenny some time ago why particularly she wanted to get married, having lived with Richard for a year, year and a half, whatever it was. Disgusting. It was the same telephone number. Excuse me, I want to correct this. I'm now told Jenny was paying rent.
Red boy! Red boy!
Anyway, I did ask her why it was that she wants to get married, and she said, well, at least it's going to be one Saturday this year in which I'm going to be with Richard.
Harsh but true.
Now, I did actually receive an announcement from the Times, a wedding announcement from the Times a few weeks ago, which said, the marriage took place on the 24th of July between Lord Bolton and Mrs. Lavinia Fenton at Dunoon during a lull in the fishing. The announcement for today's event, I don't know what it will say, but it's between the cricket and the hockey season. I don't know. It's often said, and it's not a cliche, it's often said that one of the proudest moments for any father is taking his daughter down the aisle to marry the man of her choice.
Dreams.
To use a sort of sporting cliche and analogy that you'll hear a footballer after a cup final say that it was a tremendous day, wonderful. I wish I could remember what happened. I hope it will happen again. Well, at least as one proud father, quite seriously, I know I'll get another chance. Sometime. Won't I? So, one of the other things that has increased my pride and joy today is, without too much of flannel, is that I'm pleased, proud of Richard. As partly or mainly because of his prowess on the cricket field, as he tells me. Anyway. Jenny has learnt more from him about cricket in this last year or two than I could ever did teach her. It's particularly apparent if you telephone the house in Newcastle or wherever it is, in Newcastle, and speak to Jenny, and you say, is Richard in? And she'll say, not out. It goes on like that. If you ever go and stay with them, come down for breakfast. Breakfast is a bad time for anybody, sort of fairly grumpy, miserable, little or no comment. It's all umpires' signals, hand signals. Do you want tea or coffee, darling? Well, they don't have any coffee, but do you want tea or coffee, darling? It's like this. Tea. Have a slice of toast. 4. Oh. 1 egg or 2. Anything else I can get you, darling? I'll have the paper. So it goes on. It's said that the critical period in matrimony is the breakfast table. Well, having said that they've been living together, or Jenny's been paying rent, they've had plenty of breakfasts to sort of get used to themselves, get used to each other. And that having, I don't know, today they have made the right decision. They really have. It'll be wonderful for both of you. I'm rambling, but it will. Marriage is an attainment of an ideal, which is very, very important. It will be fraught with momentous issues, problems, but the bedrock of a successful marriage is that to talk, discuss everything on a 50-50 basis, and follow that, and it won't go wrong. As they say, love always protects, it always trusts, it always hopes, and always perseveres. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to rise and toast Jenny and Richard. Jenny and Richard.
pee, please, Bob. Thanks very much, David, for starting things off with the flourish. I only hope I live up to the standards of husbandry that your daughter deserves.
And cricket.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, quite honestly, welcome to the greatest day of my life. Okay. I'm supposed to be a glorified soap powder salesman. I was quite unsure.
Well, you're a soap powder salesman anyway.
I was quite unsure how to start off my little spiel. So I thought I'd put a few things down in rhyming form. I thought that would be the best way to conceal my apprehension. So I'd like to start off with a little bit of rhythm. It sums up today. Now, some of my colleagues and proctors may have been given an inkling of this about 2 months ago. Something written for today, and it's called the Vanilla White Wedding Wrap. And it goes something like this.
1, 2.
Vanilla or cream is the colour of my bride. Now she's married to me, she may well wish to hide. But honestly, folks, we're one hell of a team. We love each other dearly, and marriage is our dream. I stand up now and my legs are feeling wobbly. I think I'm teetotal, so it sure can't be the bubbly. It's caused by my love for my wife and my friends. Thank you all for coming through West Sussex cool bends. You may have lost a daughter, but David, you've gained a son. For today you've been a marvel. In a million you are one. Aww. The recession may have hit you. You're thinning out on top. But we're not fooled by hairlines and we expect to see you bop. My best man's name is Bruce. You may know him as Andy. He's famous for his tan and for being pretty randy. We've been through a lot, both at school and in real life. I love you like a brother. Now it's your turn to get a wife. Now today you've all been organised by Bruce and 7 ushers. A beefy combination of alcoholic frantic rushers. They've got us into church and they got us to the table. Having seen them all this morning, it's a miracle they weren't. Within this group of ushers are Johnny Wilde and Tim. For those of you with daughters, things are starting to look grim. They may look butch and macho with just a hint of power, but underneath they're gentle and harmless as any flower. Rid and ads were flatmates. At Bristol we were a team. With women on our shoulders, our smiles you'd always see beam. We walked and we strutted. We danced and we grooved. We played footy on the common. From house to flat we moved. Jonathan and Ben are friends in 2 real senses. For them I'd run a mile. For me they'd jump over fences. We're part of a family that is loving and full of joy. Soon to be added to with Caroline and Jason's girl or boy. A good part of today is the getting of my first brother. You have to link that in with his glorious looking mother. But Robbie is a man with brains and wit and feet. My mission is to feed him up, get him onto 3 shredded wheat. And don't forget our bridesmaids, Christina, Claire and Jo. With dresses by Leslie, so down the aisle they could go. They looked like little angels with just a hint of lace. To the service they added sparkle and a certain amount of grace. So at the end of the day, when you've had a good time, remember the words of this vanilla wedding rhyme. You haven't heard rubbish, you've heard a bit of rap. Nothing like some rhythm to prepare for all his rap. Now, today, Jenny has made me the proudest man in England. I actually knew we'd get married 3 days after going out together. Whether it's because on our first date we bumped into Angus and Annie Cater, or Ridian in this sort of nice, quiet restaurant that I'd set aside. But in the 2 years I've known her, and I want to be honest here, She's changed my life and given me a new definition of love. She's beautiful, she's smart, and as anyone who knows her well, she's also very brave. I love her, and I thank her for being my wife. Now, most marriages are said to have been made in heaven. Ours wasn't. Ours, in truth, was made in Woking.
Same.
Jenny joined P&G with 4 other fairly fresh-faced female graduates from Newcastle, and immediately the spirit of the Procter & Gamble bachelors was swiftly lifted. Her desk was on a floor below mine, and right next to the stationery room. And to this day, I still have 17 rulers. I don't know why. Now, if I remember rightly, I also became very keen on photocopying. Because around September '89, when I was working the enter button on the photocopying machine, I could also see Jenny. Now she's in Newcastle. She works in a different building from me. And I've gone off photocopying. Now, one of the things that's made today special for all of us, and for Jenny and I in particular, is to see so many friends here. Friends and relatives. Some of you come a long way. Athens, Mr. Brill, thank you very much. Very good at ushering. But I'd like to make special mention of a few people. All the way from Dumfriesshire, we've had Fiona MacDonald over there. I think cracking effort, that. And also, over the last couple of days, we've had the Tracy family and the Whitney family, all the way from sort of up north of the border. Now, they've been working in shifts to maintain some of the sanity of the house over there, because things were getting a bit edgy. So, thank you to them for coming all this way. And then, in John Coreland, in Northern Ireland, the Hazelden clan and Cecil Woods are way over to be with us today. Thank you very much. But today's, well, aptly named Michael Palin Award for excessive travelling in pursuit of a drink, a free drink, actually goes to the lady with this camcorder, Patricia Moore, all the way from New York. Excellent. Ask us to spare a thought for my great aunt Caris, who's been unable to make it today. She had a bad asthma attack at the end of the week, and the last thing I knew, she was recovering in Worthing Hospital. So I'd ask her to spare a few thoughts for her as well. Okay. Now, like all unprepared acceptance speeches, be they for an Oscar, Grammy, a wife, wouldn't be complete without saying a few thank yous. People who made today possible. They are heartfelt thank yous because Jenny and I were 350 miles away in Newcastle ordering things down the phone. Now, we didn't get many things we ordered. Got the tone of our voice, Geordie lilt. But things have happened just as we wanted, just as we hoped, and it's been tremendous. Today is a culmination of 2 people's main activities, Jane and David. They have been quite unbelievable over the last 3 months. They've designed, developed, and massaged everything together into what we now see as a perfect country wedding. Bratwick is looking fantastic, and we've been treated to a marquee reception that, well, fantastic. We're all monumentally grateful for both of you, and Jenny and I would just like to give you something to say thank you. Awesome. Now, a number of other people deserve some credit for today. Roger, my father. 26 6 years, I've been this man's biggest fan. And he's been mine. Hopefully I've secured another lifelong fan today, I'm hoping. But Roger, thank you for teaching me what real values are and for showing me and treating me as you would any other person. And showing me what love is. I feel well placed to take responsibility of looking after Jenny, and I thank you for that. You've been a constant source of advice throughout the preparations, and you've been a major player in planning what I would call the Gratwick look today. You're also the key behind the old Chips involvement, which has been, again, faultless. And just got you something here that you can relax into at the end of the day. Another presentation I'd like to make is to Leslie for dressmaking worthy of the Emmanuel. I'd also like to thank the Reverend David Roderick, who married us today. He's been incredibly helpful with the preparations, and I'd also like to thank him for, I think Monday evening he got down on the cork tiles in his kitchen and prayed for some divine inspiration on the weather today. A great prayer, you must tell him. Thank you very much. We now move into soften up the grandma. Soften up the mother.